week, Brock Purdy was scheduled to get better and better. They looked like he was going to be able to play. He's going to be a no-go for this week. So, again, the 49ers had Mr. Relevant, the lowest-paid player in the National Football League. He cashes in his big contract, but been hampered by injuries all season long. The Niners still 4-2, but they don't feel like it. So either they're living a lie or they're the toughest team that's been going without Kittle. They'll be without Bosa for the rest of the year. They're out without Brock Purdy, but they still have a winning record at 4-2. They'll try to stop Bijan Robinson, who's a human highlight reel. We'll see how many 50-yard-plus runs he can reel off against the 49ers. Fred Warner's beat up. Bosa's out. So the Niners' defense is definitely hampered. We'll see what Bijan Robinson can do today for the Falcons. Then coming up on Monday, 2 games. And Browns fans, I'm sorry to bring this up, but the Buccaneers are 5-1 with Baker Mayfield making it happen at Tampa Bay. They'll take on the Lions that are 4-2. This is a big game in the NFC. Why? The Buccaneers have played consistent football over the last few years, and Baker Mayfield has elevated that Buccaneers team post-Tom Brady. The Lions have gotten as close as you can over the last couple of years, but it seems like they've hit a ceiling. They've hit that glass ceiling. Can they bust through? Show me that you can by taking care of the Buccaneers, a good but not great football team, playing on Monday Night Football. It's one thing, like in NASCAR, they say it's one thing to catch them, but it's another to pass them. The Lions have caught everybody, but if they passed everybody on the elite side of the National Football League, the answer is no. They'll go a long way to tell me whether they're really ready to take that next step today when they take on the Buccaneers. And finally, the Texans, 2-3, they take on the Seahawks. Everybody and their brother is going to be watching the Mariners game instead, but the Seahawks are 4-2, playing some pretty good football. Texans still waiting for C.J. Stroud to make that next big step. Hasn't done it yet, so we'll see what happens on the second half of the Monday Night Football double dip. And just in case you're wondering tonight, 8:03 on Fox Sports 1. It's not on the big Fox. It's on Fox Sports 1. The Mariners will take on the Blue Jays. The Mariners one game away, just one game away. They have a 3-2 lead in the American League Championship Series as they take on the Toronto Blue Jays in Toronto. All this has been a slugfest on both sides. The Mariners come out and Cal Raleigh leads them, but the Blue Jays have one of the most potent offenses in all of Major League Baseball. This will be a good one. The winner of this gets to face Shohei Ohtani in the World Series. Blue Jays would love to go back to play in that World Series. The Mariners, they're still smart after that 2001 team. They can't wait to try to finally get that monkey off their back of being the only team in Major League Baseball to not play in the World Series, to not make it to a World Series. Seattle's on fire right now for the Seahawks, so we'll see if for the Mariners right now. See, you're used to saying Seahawks. For the Mariners right now, so we'll see if the Mariners can make their way, punch their ticket to their first ever World Series. And if that's going to happen, oh, is it going to be crazy over at Dick's Drive-In. Everybody in town will be going crazy if the Mariners can indeed make it to the World Series. So that's your schedule of sports today. I'm going to step aside. Thanks to Carl Dukes for letting me sit in today on the program. Thanks to Tony Pierno for all the updates, and then Ray Jarvis kept us on track all day long. I'm Rich Herrera. Thanks for joining us. Stick around. Zach Gelb's next here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Biggest plays the day before in college football.
Jeanty, his first touch. And typical Ashton Jeanty. Look at him go! You can't bring him down!
To getting you ready for all the mayhem that comes your way every NFL Sunday.
It's intercepted at the 40 and picked off by DeGene, who comes to the near side, the 30. Got it back at the 20, breaks the tackle, the 10, the 5, to the pylon. Touchdown!
This is Sunday Morning Football. And here is your host, Zach Gill.
Live from the place yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor, 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to a Week 7 edition of Sunday Morning Football across all of our great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 375, the free Odyssey app, the iHeartRadio app, and also streaming live on YouTube. 888-710-4ISN is the number to jump on in. That's 4476. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. Or you could follow us on our brand new TikTok account at The Zach Gelb Show. Got a whole lot to do on Sunday Morning Football. If you're new to the program, or where the heck have you been for the last 7 weeks? But if you are a returning customer, we thank you so much. We tell you how this program all goes down for the next 2 hours. In the first hour, that's 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern time, we are all things college football. And then once the clock hits 11 a.m. here on the East Coast, we go NFL, and more NFL. And we get you set for a very busy Sunday as the Rams are playing in London up against London's favorite team, the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Matthew Stafford just threw a touchdown. Was that a one-handed catch? I think so, by Devontae Adams. Yep, he got 2 feet in bounds. So that makes it 13-0 Rams up on the Jaguars, as Jacksonville is 4-2 on the season. The Rams also 4-2 with 1:51 remaining in the first quarter across the pond in London. Extra point is good as we speak. So that is 14-0. But we got to start off with the college football action from yesterday. And it was a very, very, very busy Saturday in college football. And quite frankly, the mayhem started out on Friday night, where I thought Louisville was going to cover. I think they were 13.5-point dogs. I liked Louisville. I even said this on my show on Friday, the Zach Gelb Show, cheap plug, Monday through Friday, many of these same stations from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern time. I said, I like Louisville to cover, but I thought Miami was going to win the game. Well, Miami lost to Louisville. Louisville obviously covered because they won the game. So that's where all the mayhem did start on Friday. But Saturday, there was a lot cooking, especially early with the dominant performance by Vanderbilt. And we just see LSU's offense continues to be a mess. We did get to see Georgia and Ole Miss, which was a sensational football game. And it looked like Ole Miss was going to run away with it before Georgia did what Georgia does in the fourth quarter. And then you get to the nightcap, and that's where we're going to start the show, because there was a lot cooking on the nightcap. Obviously, you did have earlier in the day Alabama and Tennessee, and you did see Alabama and Tennessee play, and Alabama at night was able to take care of business up against Tennessee pretty, in good fashion and blowout fashion. But I got to start with the Irish, because they're going up against USC. USC, who I don't think is a very good football team. Like, I do think USC is overrated. All right, they beat Missouri State. They beat Georgia Southern. They beat Purdue. They beat Michigan State. They lost to Illinois. They beat Michigan, who, let's be real, this is just not a great Michigan team this year. So there was a lot on the line for USC up against Notre Dame. We all know the rivalry. We all know the history between these two historic brands and these two prestigious programs. And I was really curious what we were going to see out of USC. Now, on the other hand, you know what the script is for Notre Dame. The Fighting Irish lost 2 close games to start the season. Miami by 3 points in South Florida. And then they were home at South Bend, and Marcel Reed happened. And they ended up losing by a point up against the Aggies of A&M, who are one of the best teams in the country. So since then, it was a familiar situation for Notre Dame where, yes, a little bit different than last year, because last year the loss was so horrific up against NIU that you knew you couldn't afford, when you lose a game to NIU, you couldn't afford another loss in order to make a 12-team playoff. But the matter of the fact is, in most years, in the way that a 12-team format is designed in a college football playoff, as long as Notre Dame doesn't lose to a school like NIU, and if they lose to like actual football programs, and I know that sounds harsh, and Thomas Hammock does a great job, and he's a very nice man. He's been on my show a ton at NIU. But as long as you don't lose to a non-Power 4 school, and you're Notre Dame, like you lose 2 games to Miami and A&M, you could still make the college football playoff. Because if you have 2 losses or fewer and you're Notre Dame, I don't care what people say, strength of schedule this, strength of schedule that. Notre Dame's going to the playoff if they win out. And that was the task at hand after they lost to A&M. And I remember tweeting this out. I was at the fight between Canelo and Crawford. And I tweeted out when I was watching A&M take care of business up against Notre Dame in early September. And I said, as long as Notre Dame wins out, they're going to the playoff. And people are like, well, why do you think they could win out? And I said, hey, dummies. I said, if Notre Dame wins out, they will go to, and people go, no. First off, how could you expect that, Zach? And I said, that's not the point. There is no way that if Notre Dame, only their 2 losses are Miami and A&M, I don't care what you think of the strength of schedule the rest of the way, and I know the criteria change, there is no way that Notre Dame's going to be kept out of a 12-team format if they don't lose a game the rest of the season. And I thought last night Notre Dame's season was on the line. I know you could say, hey, Zach, Notre Dame's season's on the line each and every week. But if they beat USC, which they did last night, 34-24, I don't see how they lose a game the rest of the year. Now, to be fair, I didn't think they would lose to NIU last year, and they did. But they got their 2 losses out of the system. They have the familiar feeling of back up against the wall. And I talked to Jadarian Price. We'll get to his big 100-yard kickoff return. But I talked to him a few weeks ago, and he said to me, there's no comfortability with their backs being up against the wall. There's no sense of, we did it last year so we could do it again this year. Like, they believe in their guys, but they know they got to win every game the rest of the year. And you look at the schedule for Notre Dame. You play Boston College, they stink. You play Navy, they're 6-0. But, let's be real. I'll give a shout-out to my alma mater, Temple. Casey Keeler's doing a heck of a job. Temple's already cleared their over-under for the season. It was at 3.5. They picked up their 4th win up against Charlotte yesterday. But Temple should have beat Navy 2 weeks ago. So, obviously, we respect the people that serve our country, and we respect the midshipmen. But right now on the ESPN matchup predictor, not that that's like the end-all, be-all, that game on November 8th on NBC, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Notre Dame and Navy. Notre Dame right now has a 96.7% of chance to win that game. And Navy right now is undefeated. Then they play at Pitt. I know since Pitt's made the quarterback change, they've been a different football team, but you should be able to beat Pitt. Then you play Syracuse, and then you play Stanford. I know Stanford just beat Florida State, even though I don't know how they didn't say that wasn't a touchdown in the Florida State game, but if you get down to the wire there, could we just be honest? I understand that Florida State, I felt like they got screwed and they should have been granted that as a touchdown. I don't know how in review how they don't reverse that. But when you play with your food and you play silly games, you get silly results. And that's what happened with Florida State. But you look at that schedule in the remaining 5 games after Notre Dame gets the victory last night: Boston College, Navy, Pitt, Syracuse, Stanford. Come on. If CJ Carr is good, and if Marcus Freeman is good, and we know what Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price could be, and that defense, start to give them credit. Chris Ash, they have started to patch things together where, let's be real, they don't need to be great. They just need to be serviceable. But just get Notre Dame back to the playoff. Just get Notre Dame through these remaining 5 games, and they'll find a way to be in the postseason. And I think last night, and I know maybe Notre Dame fans would be like, oh, Zach, you're going to jinx them. Oh, you're going to jinx them, Zach. Notre Dame beating USC last night, that was the last thing I needed to see to say, okay, I think that Notre Dame's going to win on out and they're going to find a way to make the college football playoff. But how about Jeremiah Love? I talked to him last year, and I said, I feel like you're going to make a Heisman push. He probably won't be a finalist in New York just because they lost those first 2 games of the season. But last night, biggest game of the season for Notre Dame up against USC. He goes for 24 carries, 228 yards, and a touchdown. Oh, he's unbelievable. And they have such a great 1-2 punch, the price of love, as they call them, because you have Jeremiah Love, who's not only just a straight-up dog, and he hurdles people just so effortlessly, but then this kid, Jadarian Price, is one of the most electrifying players in college football. 13 carries, 87 yards, a rushing touchdown. But, let's be real. This dude, I think it was his 3rd career 100-yard kickoff return. Because when I talked to him a few weeks ago after he had one, he's like, oh, yeah, I had one, I think it was up against USC too. A few years ago. And he goes, yeah, that's just what I do. So let's listen up to how it sounded, because this game, it was looking like Notre Dame was going to run away with it for a little bit. When he got to 21-13 after Will Pauling had that 6-yard touchdown, you're like, all right. Yeah, you had a back-and-forth storm. Now Notre Dame's going to pull away. USC gets a field goal, and then all of a sudden USC takes a 3-point lead, and they get that touchdown, that lane catch, 59 yards, and you're sitting there and you're saying, uh-oh, USC, and then all of a sudden, a snap of finger, they're back up. They're up by 3 points, and then Jadarian Price basically said, hush, hush to everybody, and he took it to the house.
This go-around, and Lane has gotten his team back up by a field goal. This one will be taken out a yard in. Price gets away from one, across the 20, finds a crease. Jadarian Price He has done this before. Price extends away. Touchdown, Notre Dame. Jadarian to Jahaus.
There you go, Jadarian Price with the 100-yard kickoff return. Let's hear from the head coach of Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman, on his tremendous running back duo of Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price.
Two guys that are so talented, that deserve the ball in their hand every snap, but choose to put the team in front of themselves and then make the most of their opportunities, right? They're not pouting. They're each other's biggest supporter.
And then let's get the other side of USC. USC will now enter a bye week. It's their second loss of the season. They're 5-2. They lost to Illinois, and they lost to, obviously, Notre Dame last night. They have a bye week. Then they play Nebraska, who was the 25th team in the country entering this weekend. But they will not be in the top 25 after Nebraska just got really annihilated in the second half. That was 7-6 at halftime. And Nebraska could not protect Dylan Raiola, who I think is going to be a heck of a quarterback. But that offensive line for Nebraska, they got issues. They got big issues. And Nebraska this year, they're just not good in the trenches. Their run defense isn't good either. You saw that up against Michigan, and Nebraska did fall to Minnesota. But USC the rest of the way, now they have a bye week. Then they play Nebraska, Northwestern, Iowa, Oregon, and UCLA. Bare minimum, they'll lose to Oregon. Maybe they'll lose another game. But I think this could be a 3 or 4 loss team for USC this season. But let's hear from Lincoln Riley and the focus of his group after this tough loss, and now they head into a bye week.
Obviously, kind of, again, look at it from a whole. It's not ever just about one game. And so, yeah, I mean, it's our last bye week. We're obviously, we got a handful of guys that we definitely need to get healthy and freshened up. It's been a heavy stretch right now. And then, obviously, there'll be plenty of things to attack to get better at for the Big Ten run.
So there you go. Notre Dame takes care of business by 10 points up against USC. Notre Dame, I do believe they control their own destiny. If they win out, which they should be able to, then they'll be in the college football playoff. Then let's get to Georgia and Ole Miss. And let me tell you something. I really thought Ole Miss, even though they're ranked 5 and Georgia's 9, but we knew Georgia was a 7.5-point favorite, I really thought Ole Miss was going to find a way to get the job done. And you know what? It's not that I doubt Georgia, but I'm very big into seeing the results on the field. Like what you've done the last 2 to 7 years, right, should not matter in this year when it comes to college football in the year of 2025. And when I've watched Georgia play this year, I think that they're vulnerable, and I think that they're begging to catch an L. Now, they lost to Alabama, and I didn't love the play call by Kirby Smart's team on that 4th down decision to go for it up against Alabama. And that's 2 years in a row they've lost to Alabama with Kalen DeBoer being the head coach. But earlier before that, up against Tennessee, how Ole Miss lost to Georgia is very similar to what Tennessee did to Georgia, where for most of the game it looked like they were the better team. They had that swagger. They had that intensity. They had that energy. Oh, this could be a huge win for Josh Heupel. Oh, this could be a huge win for Lane Kiffin. And then if you leave Gunnar Stockton just a sliver of hope, just a little slim chance to find a way to get the job done, they find the way to get the job done. But you look, and even last week when they played Auburn, I had to come on back to beat Auburn. They needed some help from the officials. Like, I look at Georgia, I thought they were there for the taking. And Trinidad Chambliss played unbelievable for the first 3 quarters. Ole Miss, their offensive attack was just an avalanche. And it just kept on coming and coming and coming. And they were unbelievable. And you went into that 4th quarter, and it was 35-26 in favor of Ole Miss. And I'm thinking to myself, all right, I'm feeling pretty good about my prediction that Ole Miss is going to win this game outright. I had them plus 7.5 points. Obviously, that didn't cover because Georgia ended up winning the game 43-35. And the Dogs in the 4th quarter, what did they do? They outscored Ole Miss 17-zip. 17-zip. And I look at Georgia, and I know they haven't won a national championship in 2 years. And sure, this is a massive year for Kirby Smart. Not that he's in danger of getting fired. He's the best coach in the country. But Kirby Smart is supposed to be the leader of this program in Georgia that's supposed to be the next Alabama, right? And we know they've already won 2 national championships, but the last 2 years, they haven't won one. So you don't go 3 years if you're going to be the next Alabama, and this is now year number 3, without winning a natty. So it's national championship or bust for Georgia. And they've had some close calls. And yesterday was a close call. But at the end of the day, this team just has a DNA of winning. They just know how to get the job done in the clutch moments. And if you have a chance to take them out, you better hit on that kill shot. Because if you miss and you give them a chance to go come on back, they will show their resilience. They will show and find a way to get the job done. You know, Georgia reminds me of it. I said this before. Georgia is the college football version of the Kansas City Chiefs, where we sit here and we go, vulnerable. It's not looking that great for Travis Kelce this year. It's not looking that great for Patrick Mahomes this year. It's not looking that great for Chris Jones this year. It's not looking that great for Steve Spagnuolo and Andy Reid this year. And then what happens? Death, taxes, and the Chiefs being in the Super Bowl. And like last year with Georgia, we talked about they were vulnerable all year, and they still ended up winning the SEC. Now they sit there, they're 6-1. And they came on back in that fourth quarter. And a big reason why they came on back is Gunnar Stockton, has a new favorite target. His tight end, Lawson Lucky. And Mr. Lucky, he had not one, not two, but 3 touchdowns. Let's listen up. This was the 3rd touchdown of the game, and this was on the Bulldogs radio network.
Play fake, Bowens throw it across the goal line in the end zone. Caught, touchdown! Touchdown, Lucky! Lawson Lucky with his 3rd touchdown catch of the day. He beats Sage Ryan, the safety, on a dart by Gunner. And the Dogs have the lead, 39-35 with 7:29 to go.
I'll tell you, there's 2 players in college football that if I'm making up a quarterback, they're not your stereotypical quarterback. They're not the guy that you're designing in the lab, but they just got that it factor. And they both remind me, I'm not saying they are Tim Tebow, because Tim Tebow is the greatest college quarterback of all time. But they just have that Tim Tebow quality of they'll do whatever it takes to get a win. It may not always look pretty, but they just find a way to get the job done. And those 2 quarterbacks, it's Haynes King at Georgia Tech and then Gunnar Stockton at Georgia. You look back at his stat line yesterday in that comeback victory. He's 26-31 for 289 yards, and he had 4 passing touchdowns. And he also had 10 carries for 59 yards and a rushing touchdown. So that's 5 touchdowns for Gunnar Stockton. The dude's a stud, an absolute stud. Let's hear from his head football coach, Kirby Smart, on the turning point in that comeback victory, Georgia up against Ole Miss.
But the turning point was when the offense scored and all the offensive players ran over to the defense. And I thought they inspired the defense. Before we got the first stop, it was right after we scored. About 7 of them ran over there. Lucky, Nate, all the guys, Ernest. And I think the defense felt the juice.
Yeah, and you look back at this game, Georgia opened it up with a field goal. Ole Miss answered back with a touchdown, 7-3. Then Georgia got a touchdown to make it 10-7. Then Ole Miss answered back. They went up 14-10. Then Georgia had a touchdown. That was such a great start to this game, Georgia being up 17-14. Then Ole Miss said, no. We're going to go get a touchdown, 21-17. Then they went into halftime. Coming out of the half, Ole Miss opens it up with a touchdown to make it 28-20. Georgia answers back with a touchdown, 28-26. Ole Miss then scores a touchdown, 12 plays, 75 yards, 35-26. And that was the last time Ole Miss scored. Because then Georgia got that touchdown, 12 plays, 75 yards to make it 35-33. Then it was a 3-and-out. Ole Miss, they had to punt. Then Georgia answered back with a touchdown to take a 40-35 lead. Then Ole Miss punted, field goal by Georgia, turnover by downs by Ole Miss. Look at that. Look at that fourth quarter. You went from back and forth seesaw ride, blow for blow, awesome game, punch for punch. And then in the fourth quarter, Georgia, right, they were the fighter. They got some good shots in the first few rounds. But when you got to the last 2 rounds, you knew you needed a knockout to go win the game, go win the fight. And Georgia delivered that knockout, big knockout. Let's hear from Lane Kiffin, the coach of Ole Miss, on what needs to improve.
We got a lot of things to fix. We got to play better on offense the fourth quarter, and obviously defensively. Georgia did a good job today, but that's not the number one offense in the country, and 34 first downs is really concerning. That's a lot of things we got to work on.
Zach Gelb here with you, Sunday Morning Football. We got a whole lot more to do here in this first hour, talking all things college football. NFL talk coming up at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Ryan Horvat's going to join us at 11:20 a.m. Eastern time, an hour from now, to try to win you some money. But we come on back Man, that Diego Pavia is fun to watch. And how about the Tide? Roll Tide. We'll get into Alabama when we come on back. Zach Gelb here with you, Sunday Morning Football.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. break ends in 5 seconds.
From the biggest plays the day before in college football to getting you ready for all the mayhem that comes your way every NFL Sunday. You're listening to Sunday Morning Football with Zach Gelb.
I know we've already had a lot of coaching changes, but with the big jobs, Penn State saw James Franklin get fired last weekend, and he was on College Game Day yesterday. We'll play you that audio in just a second. Billy Napier, there was a report that, regardless if he won or lost up against Mississippi State, that there's going to be a chance that he gets fired today or maybe at some point this week. Here in his press conference last night, he knows he's a dead man walking, and it's not a matter of if Billy Napier is going to get fired, but just when. And I know that Florida had a win yesterday up against Mississippi State, and just what a terrible interception at the end by the Mississippi State quarterback, Blake Shapen. He hit like a defensive lineman right in the hands, and it got picked off, and all they needed was a field goal. But anyway, I think Billy Napier probably at some point today we're going to get a breaking news report that he's going to get fired. And Florida State, who lost to Stanford, there's a report from Pete Nakos of On3 just from a few moments ago that Florida State decision makers are holding informal phone calls this morning to discuss the future under Mike Norvell. Norvell's buyout, by the way, is north of $54.4 million. FSU is 1-11 in the ACC during the last 2 seasons. Think about that team. 2 years ago, they were on the verge of making the college football playoff in a 4-team format. You had those injuries at the end of the season to Jordan Travis. Even though they were undefeated because of the quarterback injuries, they were left out of the college football playoff. Last year, they were god-awful. DJ Uiagalelei blew up right in their faces. And then this year, they start off the season with the win up against Alabama, where not only they beat Alabama, they talked smack that Thomas Castellanos all offseason long, and they punched Alabama in the mouth, and they dragged them up and down the field for 4 quarters. And Florida State at one point was 3-0. Now they've lost 4 straight games. 4 straight games. And that season completely unraveled ever since they lost to Virginia. And that team has not been able to recover. I like Mike Norvell. He's a good man. He is. I thought he was going to get Florida State rolling after some early problems. And he had those 2 good seasons. But the last 2 years, it's just indefensible. It really is. What has happened the last 2 years. And you're Florida State, right? You're trying to get back. You're a program that has all the resources. I just don't see, with how this season's going, this is supposed to be the redemption year, how you started off with that win up against Alabama, and it's almost as if your team exhaled, and ever since then, they just haven't been the same football team. So it would not shock me, obviously, by the end of the season. I don't think it's coming today, but by the end of the season, if Mike Norvell is out at Florida State, we're going to have some big jobs open. You have Penn State open, Florida's going to be open, and potentially Florida State as well. So I watched this Game Day interview. It's 10 minutes of James Franklin getting a soft landing spot in College Game Day. I get it, right? It's going to make him look good. James Franklin's a good coach. He's not a great coach. I fully support Penn State getting rid of James Franklin. Now, it doesn't dismiss what he did. Like, the guy took over Penn State in a rough spot, and he was really good. But the goal of this sport is to be great. And when was the last time that we operate with basically putting floaties on everyone and just saying, oh, yeah, you could keep on losing big games and there's no consequences. And the idea that now James Franklin is some victim and he got screwed by Penn State, like, what? This dude couldn't win a big game if his life depended on it. I could give him the script and basically lead him to the well and say, this is how you win a big game, and he would still find a way to mess it up. It doesn't mean the guy's not a good coach. James Franklin, like, heck, when Florida moves off of Billy Napier, they should be interested in James Franklin. He probably should be candidate number 1. Because James Franklin will bring stability. James Franklin will bring wins. But when push comes to shove, is he going to be a coach that wins a national championship? Probably not. Do I believe that James Franklin is a big game coach? No. But he gets you 9-10 wins a season. There's a lot of schools that want to get 9-10 wins a season. But when you are Penn State and you're there year after year after year after year, and it's the same story where you lose to Ohio State, you lose to an Oregon, you lose to a Michigan, how do you justify continuing with this guy? I totally get what Pat Kraft did. And you know what? They may hire someone, and the fans may be underwhelmed with the hiring. Here's what I'll point to. When the Eagles move off of Andy Reid, all right, people are like, oh, Andy Reid got screwed. No, the timing was right to move off of Andy Reid. Andy Reid went on, had a ton of success, won 3 Super Bowls as he got paired up with Patrick Mahomes. Now, I understand the guy that they replaced Andy Reid with wasn't the guy. Chip Kelly was a disaster, or just wasn't a very good NFL head coach because of my way, highway type of guy. But then after that, the Eagles hired Doug Peterson and Nick Sirianni. Did anyone think those two guys would each win a Super Bowl? No. And they both won a Super Bowl. So even if you downgrade that head coach in terms of the national recognition of that head coach, it doesn't mean that you can't go on to have the ultimate success and be better for it. And the coach that you got fired can't go on to have better success because of it too. So I thought it was time for Penn State to move off of James Franklin. Let's hear Nick Saban, though. And I love Nick Saban. I loved his Alabama teams. I love everything that Nick Saban was all about. He was awesome, clearly, for the game of college football. But Nick Saban yesterday, when did he become such a softy in retirement? Well, listen to Nick Saban on College Game Day on the ESPN saying it's unfair the treatment that James Franklin received from Penn State.
You made the statement it's not like up to you to decide what's fair or unfair when Reese answered that question. I'm going to answer it. It's unfair as hell for you to go to the Rose Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, get into the Final Four, come out being ranked number 1 this year, an expectation that you created by what you accomplished at Penn State. And for those people not to show enough appreciation for that and gratitude for all the hard work that you did, I'm saying it's unfair.
Unfair? Nick Saban, are you kidding me? Yeah, this is James Franklin we're talking about, who was the head coach at Penn State. We're not talking about the head football coach at Toledo. Right? You were ranked as one of the best teams in the country. You were supposed to win it all this year. This was the year you're supposed to shut up someone like Zach Gelb, who always called out James Franklin flaws. And you lose to Oregon, then you lost to UCLA, and then you lost to Northwestern. But it's unfair? Do you know how many of those sycophants up in Happy Valley would sit there and defend James Franklin when I would rip him for years? So they were loyal to him. They believed in him. But when this was supposed to be the year that everything came together for Penn State, he not only failed, he failed miserably. And that's when they said, okay, this isn't working. So what, like Nick Saban, I would say 2 things. Do you think Penn State should have kept James Franklin? And if he would have said yes, I'd say, Coach, then you would never win a national championship at Penn State. Because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again and expecting different results. And the other thing I would say to Nick Saban, hey, Coach, if you lost that many big games at Alabama, do you think you would have continued to be the head football coach at Alabama if you didn't win any of those national championships? Of course not. So what is he talking about with this unfair nonsense? I love Nick Saban. That was one weak quote by one Nick Saban. It goes everything against that Nick Saban's about. Everything against what Nick Saban's about. Oh, I couldn't believe that yesterday. I can't believe I heard a soft Nick Saban yesterday. That's what I heard. That's surreal. All righty, let's get to Vanderbilt. I went to Vanderbilt once in 2014. Temple played Vanderbilt. I saw my Temple Owls beat Vanderbilt by 30 points. 30 points. Vanderbilt was one of the worst jobs in the country. Great place to live. Horrible football team. What Clark Lee and Diego Pavia, though, did last year was special. And now it has continued this year. They're 6-1, and I love Vanderbilt going into this game because Vanderbilt has offense, LSU does not. And even with that being said, halfway through the third quarter, I was looking at this game and watching this game, and I even tweeted this out at the time. I go, I'm surprised that LSU's been able to put up this many points at 24-21. But if it's going to be a shootout, you knew Vanderbilt was going to win. Here was Diego Pavia on a 21-yard touchdown run. This extended the Vanderbilt lead 31-21, and this was late in the third quarter. Let's listen up to Commodores Radio Network.
Vanderbilt on the precipice of the red zone. Pavia drops back. He feels the pressure. Oh, he's going to rush. It's a wide open crease at the 10, at the 5. He can high step into the end zone. Touchdown, Vanderbilt. Diego Pavia, 21 yards. Oh, the seas parted, and Pavia took it to the house for 6.
So Vanderbilt just finds a way to pull away in the second half. You knew that when that was a shootout that Vandy was going to win. They win 31-24. Vanderbilt is now 6-1 in the season. While LSU, that's another guy that we maybe have to monitor. Brian Kelly with his Tiger family. They're not going to make the college football playoff, so that's going to be 2 years in a row in a 12-team format. They're going to miss the college football playoff, and the offense has just been terrible. Garrett Nussmeier has been one of the more disappointing players in the country. But let's hear Clark Lee talking about, we'll get back to LSU in a second. Vanderbilt just has to stay focused the rest of the way.
Ultimately, we have a lot of season left. We're going to celebrate this win. I think we've earned the right to celebrate it. But this game won't define our season. And there's a lot more for this team to accomplish. You know, tomorrow we'll shift focus on Missouri, and that'll be a tough challenge for us, but that is tomorrow's issue.
I like to see Vanderbilt in the college football playoff. I would. Be a heck of a story. And you got to just make sure your 2 losses are fewer. You lost to Alabama a few weeks ago, last week. The rest of the way you play Missouri, Texas, Auburn, Kentucky, Tennessee. Not murderer's row, considering what these SEC schedules are like. So they could definitely make the college football playoff and only lose one more game the rest of the season. Here is Brian Kelly, what makes Vanderbilt so difficult to play against.
Our guys know we were playing a team that was going to make it very difficult for us to possess the football. We had 3 possessions in the first half. So it's like playing triple option. And we did not play well enough on either side of the ball to be the better team today.
And then let's transition, stay in the SEC, Alabama and Tennessee. Bama wins 37-20, and this one was really put out of reach following this 99-yard pick 6 to end the first half. This was on the Crimson Tide Radio Network.
Play action, they want to throw, they do. It's intercepted, picked off across the 20, Sabian Brown across midfield. One man to beat, hesitates, stays on his feet, scores.
Alabama, I guess I got my swagger back. Ooh. How about the Crimson Tide? They lose to Florida State in week 1. Since then, the Tide's been rolling. My guy, Kalen DeBoer, unbelievable. They beat Louisiana Monroe 7-3. They beat Wisconsin 38-14. They beat Georgia by 3. They beat Vanderbilt 30-14. They beat Missouri 27-24. And they just smacked Tennessee. 37-20. And I'm telling you, this defense looks damn good. This defense is producing turnovers week in and week out. And you look at the quarterback, Ty Simpson, he is just an efficient quarterback. And they got a ton of weapons. Alabama's 6-1. And you look at their schedule the rest of the way. South Carolina, LSU, Oklahoma, Eastern Illinois, and Auburn. I don't think Alabama's losing a game for the rest of the regular season. Let's get to Kalen DeBoer and his team's defense.
I thought we did a really nice job over the course of the game, you know, really keeping them under wraps and, again, doing what we did in the red zone time and time again, and just putting their cleats in the dirt and making them snap the ball one more time. We talk about it all the time. Make them snap the ball one more time. And, you know, at the end of the first half, that was what it took.
And then finally, we'll hear from Josh Heupel on what went wrong in their 17-point loss to Alabama.
Offensively, just, you know, self-inflicted wounds in the first half. Killed a bunch of our drives. You know, positive is the way they came out and competed early in the second half. Defense gets a stop, offense goes and scores, turnover. We don't take advantage of it. Self-inflicted wounds on that possession again.
Man, this SEC is loaded. Really is. A&M, and they're looking at a 7-0 record. Bama 6-1, Georgia 6-1, Ole Miss 6-1, Texas 5-2, Missouri 6-1, Oklahoma 6-1, Vanderbilt 6-1. Even LSU at 5-2, Tennessee at 5-2. Man, we got some special teams this season in the SEC. Let's get an update, and here's Tony Pierno.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
All right, Zach, we're sponsored by Progressive Commercial Insurance, which protects small businesses with affordable coverage options. Get a quote today at progressivecommercial.com. Early morning NFL action. From London, the Rams lead the Jaguars 21-0 with 4:37 remaining in the second quarter. Matthew Stafford threw a pair of touchdown passes in the opening frame, and just moments ago, he connected with Devontae Adams for a second time. Stafford 15 of 20 on the day for 127 yards and those 3 touchdown passes. Once again, LA leads at 21-0. College football now. Last night in Tuscaloosa, Alabama was looking to keep the good times rolling against the Volunteers.
Simpson working under center, Hill in the backfield. Play action to Hill, rolling, firing, near side. Catch made at the 5, at the goal line, and in. Touchdown, Alabama, Rico Scott.
Ty Simpson completed 19 of 29 passes for 253 yards and 2 touchdowns as Alabama beat Tennessee 37-20. Audio was courtesy of Learfield. The Crimson Tide have now won 6 straight, including 4 against ranked opponents. Meantime, Notre Dame ran wild against USC, recording 306 yards on the ground as they disposed of the Trojans 34-24. Elsewhere, top-ranked Ohio State blanked Wisconsin 34-0. Number 3 Indiana handled Michigan State 38-13. Fernando Mendoza completed 24 of 28 passes for 332 yards and 4 touchdowns. Texas A&M survived Arkansas 45-42. Georgia rallied to beat Ole Miss 43-35. Arizona State shocked Texas Tech 26-22, while Oregon rebounded by pounding Rutgers 56-10. Vanderbilt topped LSU 31-24. Georgia Tech down Duke 27-18. Oklahoma handled South Carolina 26-7. BYU got by Utah 24-21. The baseball postseason resumes tonight in Toronto with Game 6 of the ALCS between the Mariners and Blue Jays. Seattle is 1 win away from punching their ticket to the Fall Classic. First pitch is at 8:03 Eastern. On the ice, the Sabres blanked the Panthers last night 3-0. The defending champions have now lost 4 straight. I'm Tony Pierno.
Hey, like us on Facebook. Our handle is INF Sportsnet. That's INF Sportsnet for our Facebook page. This is the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
From the biggest plays the day before in college football to getting you ready for all the mayhem that comes your way every NFL Sunday. You're listening to Sunday Morning Football with Zach Gelb.
Texas A&M survived the scare up against Arkansas. The Aggies continue to be undefeated at 7-0 as they beat Arkansas by 3, 45-42. Arizona State, Texas Tech. The Texas Tech quarterback, Baron Morton, I thought he was going to play in this game. He did not. Will Hammond was in. And the Red Raiders, who were 6-0 entering this one, suffered their first loss of the season to Arizona State. And that's big in the Big 12. And the Sun Devils, they needed that victory the worst way. I know they lost an SEC game up against Mississippi State back in week 2, but they got smacked the other week when they didn't have Sam Leavitt in at quarterback up against Utah. Sam Leavitt back in. And this was the stat line from Sam Leavitt yesterday, 28 of 47 for 319 passing yards and a passing touchdown. And Sam Leavitt ended up getting the 26-22 victory up against Texas Tech. Jordan Tyson, one of the best wide receivers in the country, 10 receptions for 105 yards and a touchdown. Another big game in the Big 12 was BYU. And you take a look at BYU, Kalani Sitake is one of the best coaches in the country, one of the more underrated coaches in the country. BYU was 7-0. They ended up beating Utah 24-21. So BYU was a top 15 team in the country. They were 15th heading into the weekend. They're going to climb up those polls as well. And let's take a look from Kyle Whittingham, the head coach at Utah, the longtime head coach. He said turnovers were clearly the difference in this one.
Did some really good things tonight. Outrushed them, out-threw them. Out first downed them, but we didn't score more points than they did. That was because of the turnover margin. We lost turnover margin 2-0. Tough to do that against a team that's, a 6-0 highly ranked team. It's tough to overcome that. We weren't our usual selves in the red zone. We were one of the best red zone teams in the country up until tonight.
And let's go from the Big 12 back to the SEC. Missouri and Auburn. Missouri found a way to get the victory in double overtime. Terrible throw at the end of the game by Blake Shapen that did seal the deal and was picked off. Auburn is now 3-4. Missouri, they avenged their loss up against Alabama last week, and they get back in the win column up against Auburn. Missouri, with Eli Drinkwitz, they are 6-1 on the season. Let's hear from the Auburn head coach, though, Hugh Freeze, on the feeling of a double overtime loss.
Obviously, this just sucks. It stinks, and there's nothing that you can say to make it feel any better for everyone in that locker room. And our fans are incredible. What a great atmosphere, and would love to be at Tumors with them right now. But we still obviously are not finding ways to win games against top quality opponents.
And you look back at this one for Auburn. You got to get into the bigger topic of conversation here. So you have Penn State that's open. Florida probably going to be open. Florida State potentially going to be open. UCLA already open. Virginia Tech already open. And other jobs around the country. Those are the marquee jobs. Is Hugh Freeze really the dude at Auburn? Is he? I don't think so. And I know that they started off the season with that win up against Baylor, and it was like, wow, that's a nice win. Baylor probably going to be open too. Dave Aranda probably going to get sent packing. And Auburn at one point was 3-0. But then when they went up against the SEC, and this is what Hugh Freeze was brought in to do, he was brought in to win games in the SEC. They lose to Oklahoma 24-17. The offense wasn't good enough. They lose to Texas A&M. The offense was dreadful. They lost 16-10. You know, I know you had the whole clapping stuff last week up against Georgia, and you had the referee screw him out of a touchdown. But still, at the end of the day, they only scored 10 points. And even if they would have got that touchdown, 2017 ain't beating Georgia. And then you only score 17 up against Missouri in double overtime. Why should they continue with Hugh Freeze? Why should Hugh Freeze be brought back as the football coach next year? I think Auburn should be open. And finally, let's get to Friday. Miami was undefeated, playing Louisville Friday night. Louisville upset Miami. Carson Beck had not one, not two, not three, but 4 interceptions. Here's how the 4th interception sounded. This sealed the victory for Louisville. This is on the Cardinals radio network.
Beck waits for the ball. He is going to throw it. Gets it out. Oh, intercepted! Intercepted! Capers picked it off. The 4th interception thrown by Carson Beck.
So 4 interceptions for Carson Beck, and after the game, he actually blamed his wide receiver for running the wrong route in that 4th interception.
I mean, we have a perfect play for it. We had a miscommunication with the route and what we were doing. So, it was just sort of ran the route wrong, and I went to go throw it because we're hot off of a pressure. And again, he made a good play on it. So, but it definitely didn't help that we ran the wrong play.
So Ray Jarvis, you were once a dean. I got to ask you on this. You look at Carson Beck. His receiver ran the wrong route. You're a quarterback, though. It's like part of me says, maybe you shouldn't say that, and it's leadership, and that's what good quarterbacks do. And then another part goes to me, well, Carson Beck knows he's going to get slammed for that. So maybe you just highlight that, and it prevents less people from going after you. But you throw 4 interceptions, I don't think people want to hear you talking about that stuff, if I'm just being honest. What's your take on it? Do you think that was right what Carson Beck did?
If you're the player and the face of the team who throws 4 interceptions in a Friday night primetime game with national championship playoff Heisman implications, the last thing we want to hear about is the wide receiver running the wrong route. Where I'm from, we call that a sucker move. You were a sucker in that moment. You throw 4 picks. You say we didn't play it well enough to win. You tell your receiver in the locker room, hey, man, you ran the wrong route. But when that camera's in front of you, you wear that loss as a leader. There's a group of people in Georgia saying, see, they're doing that Leonardo DiCaprio meme, pointing at the screen when they saw that. That's the guy who couldn't get it done for us.
That's the Dean. I like it. That's a Dean talk right there. Ray Jarvis, Zach Gilbert with you. Sunday Morning Football coming on back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
From the biggest plays the day before in college football.
Genty, his first touch. And typical Ashton Genty. Look at him go! You can't bring him down!
To getting you ready for all the mayhem that comes your way every NFL Sunday.
It's intercepted at the 40. And picked off by DeGene, who comes to the near side, the 30. Got a block at the 20, breaks a tackle, the 10, the 5, to the pylon. Touchdown!
This is Sunday Morning Football. And here is your host, Zach Gelb.
And this portion of Sunday Morning Football is brought to you by Ethos Life, the easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes, up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam, just a few health questions. Get your free quote at checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hour number 2 of Sunday Morning Football. If you missed the first hour, that's where we do all things college football each and every Sunday, right here on the Infinity Sports Network from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And once that clock does hit 11 a.m. Eastern Time, we go all things NFL. Ryan Horvat, the great Ryan Horvat from BetMGM tonight, going to join us 20 minutes from now. He was all over Ted McMillan last week. Anytime touchdown, won you some money. McMillan got in the end zone not once but twice. So we'll see what Horvat's gambling plays are for week number 7. Talking about week number 7, it did start off on Thursday Night Football. And when you take a glance back at Thursday Night Football, you saw the Cincinnati Bengals just dominate the Pittsburgh Steelers, at least with the Bengals offense, and that Steelers defense had nothing. And I know the game, it's only a 2-point differential as the Bengals won 33-31. But that Steelers defense, they allowed 470 yards. 470 to old man Joe Flacco. Chase Brown actually was able to put up some rushing numbers, ran for over 100 yards. The Bengals haven't been able to run the ball all season. And Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, they popped off. Rodgers played a really good game for the Steelers, but that defense was just terrible. And here's what we continuously see from the Steelers in big games under Mike Tomlin. Defense stinks. Tomlin's never won a road Thursday night game. And not only that, he hasn't won a playoff game since the 2016 season. So that's how Thursday night started. Well, Sunday's not any prettier, if I'm going to be honest. We got a game in London right now. It's at the half. Matthew Stafford had 3 first-half passing touchdowns. He's 15-20 for 127 yards and 3 passing touchdowns. The Rams are saying to Liam Cohen, whew, you thought you had a nice start at 4-2, but you're going to probably be 4-3 because the Rams are up 21-0. Now, the Rams did blow a game to Philadelphia. Here's a hot take. I don't think the Jaguars are Philadelphia. Now, with that being said, though, the Eagles got some problems. The Eagles got issues. You know, let me bring back up the Dean, Ray Jarvis. So, you got A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. They clearly don't like one another. Now, when A.J. Brown got traded from the Tennessee Titans to the Philadelphia Eagles, he was like, I'm best friends with Jalen Hurts. They love each other. And 2 years ago, there were issues on this football team. They started 10-1. And then they won one lousy game down the stretch, so they got annihilated wild card weekend, and they got eliminated by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And last year, there was issues with the Philadelphia Eagles, but they ended up coming together as a team. And Saquon Barkley was Saquon Barkley. Jalen Hurts ended up winning Super Bowl MVP. A.J. Brown was reading inner excellence on the sideline, but he was winning, and he's, was looking like a top 5 wide receiver last year. Devontae Smith, skinny Batman, he's unbelievable. And that defense, bunch of dogs on that defense for the Philadelphia Eagles. But this year, you look at Philadelphia, and they quit up against the Giants 2 Thursday nights ago. I was at that game. It's a football team that they're 4-2, back-to-back losses. They were up 17-3 to the Broncos. They blew that one. The Giants, they barely even showed up. In that Broncos game, A.J. Brown stopped running. Jalen Hurts overthrew him. And then last week up against the Giants, Jalen Hurts missed what would have been an easy 90-yard touchdown because he overthrew Devontae Smith. And then on an interception that Jalen Hurts threw, Jalen Hurts had A.J. Brown wide open in the end zone. And he just didn't see him. So Jalen Hurts, the Super Bowl MVP, he's just not seeing the field well right now. And he's making bad decisions. But this is a football team that's 4-0. They were 4-0. They didn't look all that great up against the Cowboys. All right, they beat the Chiefs, give them credit. They had to come on back from down big up against the Rams. They beat a decimated Buccaneers team that is now only having 1 loss. But then since then, they lose to the Broncos and the Giants, and all I hear about is the bitching and complaining and the fighting between 2 children right now and Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. And I'm sitting there, Ray, and I'm animated because I'm sitting there and I'm saying, guys, you just won a Super Bowl last year. Get on the damn same page where you had a team meeting that Saquon Barkley basically had to be the mediator. You had his team meeting between the 3 of them with Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, and Jalen Hurts. A.J. Brown's like, no, we didn't have no meeting. All right, we just talked in the parking lot. Huh? Sounds like you guys did have a meeting. So this is just some bizarre stuff going on with the Eagles. And it is clear that A.J. Brown don't like Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Hurts don't mess with A.J. Brown right now. What would you say to these guys? Because I'm sure when you were a dean, you'd have 2 students that maybe didn't get along, but maybe they're both capable of being good students, right? And you're like, you guys need one another. You guys got to come together on this group project so you can get the A.
I think what's taking place here is a combination of 2 things. We gotta quote the great Pat Riley. We're seeing what's called the disease of me right now. Post-championship success, guys are smelling themselves, and we're seeing the failures start to sprout up because of that. But taking it to the dean level, what I'm seeing here is you had one kid who's been the guy in the hallways, the popular kid in the lunchroom, the star of the show. Then all of a sudden another person shows up. That other person will be Jalen Hurts. Mm-hmm. Now the girls are paying attention to him. They're laughing at his jokes a little bit louder. And A.J. Brown's like, wait a minute, that used to be me.
And Jalen Hurts, good-looking man, too.
Good-looking guy.
I'd be laughing at his jokes if I was a lady.
The outfits are landing right. The ladies are tweeting about him more and more. And A.J. Brown is like, I've run out of books.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, it's a situation where you have two egos at play, two alpha males at play, and no one wants to back down. And I think it's a combination of that. And you know what? We're going to throw a coach under the bus. The new offensive coordinator, if you look at some of these.
Kevin Patullo, yeah.
The route trees right now, kind of nasty. Some of the first reads that Jalen Hurts has, not the best. So it's a combination of ego, pride, bad play calling, and a disease of me. You have Saquon Barkley debuting a Giants, anti-Giant propaganda documentary, Thursday Night Football. We're not talking about the main thing right now, which is we need to figure out what's going on the field and figure it out as far as how do we get the ball to this guy? How do we feature him without compromising the offense? Because we've seen the last couple of weeks, Philadelphia, let's get the receivers involved. Saquon's not getting featured. When Saquon's getting featured, the receivers are not involved. Where's the balance? So it's too much emotions, too much ego, bad X's and O's. Certainly seems like a 10-7 season loading and no repeat on deck in Philadelphia.
So here's the thing, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, because you know how important leadership is, and you know how important a certain energy is to try to galvanize a team together. I noticed this. And it's different we see from afar than what happens behind closed doors. I acknowledge that. But I'll never forget, I was in the press conference room where the Eagles punched their ticket to the NFC Championship game when they lost to Kansas City in the Super Bowl a few years back. And I had the first question to Jalen Hurts. And I said to Jalen, I go, you guys are going to the Super Bowl now. In your journey, Jalen, like, how do you process knowing that in 2 weeks from now you're going to be playing the Super Bowl? And he just looked at me, no emotion. Right? Just punch your ticket to the Super Bowl. And he just goes, going to the Super Bowl. That was it. So I say that because then even last year, it's not like you saw great emotion from Jalen Hurts, but he won a Super Bowl MVP. Now, I had the luxury of being in attendance to the Eagles Super Bowl party in their hotel because the Eagles were staying in my hotel. I was staying in their hotel, however you want to say it, during Super Bowl week. I actually got there first, if we're being honest. So I was in the Super Bowl after party. Right? Shane Gillis was there. Big X the Plug was there. It was good. I like Big X the Plug. I'm a big fan of Big X the Plug. Big fan. And I see Jalen Hurts sitting down. Guy just won the Super Bowl. Just dominated the Chiefs. Just won a Super Bowl MVP. And you would think Jalen Hurts just lost by 40. He was just sitting there. Just sitting there. Not really enjoying himself. Not really appreciating the moment. So I ask you this. Obviously, the guy has overcome so much adversity. Got benched in a national championship game in Alabama. Stayed at Alabama for an extra season. Took over for an injured Tua Tagovailoa. Won an SEC championship. Then, after that, goes to Oklahoma. Right? Was a Heisman Trophy finalist. Then goes to the NFL. Usurped Carson Wentz. Been to 2 Super Bowls. Super Bowl MVP. Super Bowl champion. No one's saying Jalen Hurts isn't a good player. But if you want this to be a habitual feeling in Philadelphia where they win not just the Super Bowl under Jalen Hurts, but Super Bowls, I think the leadership of Jalen Hurts, so I know he's always a robot. The main thing is the main thing, rat poison, Alabama, blah, 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 blah. Like, he should be Nick Saban's son. Like, let's just be real. But I think he needs to appreciate the moment a little more. And I think Jalen Hurts, it's okay to crack a smile. It's okay when guys do something positive for you to actually appreciate that instead of just being like, everyone lock in, just stay on task. What do you make of that? Because I've thought this a few years ago, and you look at a guy like A.J. Brown, who's too emotional, right? But I look at Jalen Hurts, and I'm not saying you got to be A.J. Brown crazy, but you at least got to have a little emotion instead of just being a robot, because when you're a leader, I don't need my leader just being one level the entire way.
Well, here's the thing. I think with Jalen Hurts, I think he's afraid of imposter syndrome because if you listed his career accolades to this point, but at what point in his journey have you can say where Jalen Hurts is him? He's the guy on his team. Was he the best player at Alabama or was he surrounded by talent?
Yeah, surrounded by talent.
Same question at Oklahoma. That's the conversation right now in Philadelphia. Maybe he feels that pressure because if I get to talking too loud, there's going to be guys that say, he's not the best player on the team. How can he be him if he's not, in fact, him? We could say A.J. Brown is him. Saquon Barkley is him. The Eagle defense are them. So imposter syndrome is a real deal. If I get too loud, maybe I don't even believe myself that I'm him. So if you're not comfortable within that, look at Patrick Mahomes. He knows he's him. Regardless of who you put in that room, he's very loud. He's very animated.
But I think Jalen Hurts thinks he's him.
I don't know if he does.
I think he sits there, he goes, I'm the Super Bowl MVP, gosh darn it.
I think he overthinks his himness.
I never thought about it that way.
Because if you're comfortable being yourself and raising your voice to being animated and saying, listen, everybody follow me. If you've never been that guy at any point in your career, how can you be that guy now?
I'll tell you, though, I was at a wedding last night. And wedding was in Philadelphia. And I'm sitting at the table, right, eating my steak last night that they serve you. Wedding steak's never that great, if I'm just being honest. And they always overcook it. You know, just give me a medium rare steak, please, at a wedding. And they give me some asparagus, give me some potatoes. And I'm sitting there. One of my buddy's wives looks at me and she goes, I got to ask you a question. And I'm like, uh-oh, where is this going? I go, what did I do? And she just goes, Eagles going to win on Sunday? And I sat there and I looked up, took a bite of my steak, maybe took a little drink of what I was sipping on, a little whiskey ginger last night. And I go, I don't think so. I go, the Eagles should beat the Vikings. The Eagles are the more talented team than the Vikings. The Vikings got some talent. But wouldn't it be so Philadelphia meltdown for them to lose to Carson Wentz today? And if they lose to Carson Wentz today, you thought the last 2 weeks were rough, losing to Denver and losing to the Giants and all the childish behavior between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. They lose to Carson Wentz now? I'll tell you, I'll be listening to a lot of Philadelphia radio tonight and tomorrow if that's the case. So this is a big moment here for the Eagles. Big moment. Because that Vikings defense is good. I don't know what to expect out of the Vikings offense. Like, hey, Jefferson's awesome. Addison's awesome. Hawkinson's really good. Aaron Jones coming on back. But that quarterback, Carson Wentz, a big question mark. But you got a little revenge game possibly for when Carson Wentz today going up against the Philadelphia Eagles, even if it's all those years ago, it was the right move to move off of Carson Wentz. But I am fascinated to see what the locker room chemistry is going to be with Philadelphia today, because there were issues 2 years ago, and it derailed their season. There were issues last year. It didn't derail their season. This could go one or two ways. It'll be a repeat of what it was 2 years ago. It'll be a repeat of what it was last year. Now, if you're an Eagles fan, you hope it's a repeat of what happened last year. But it feels like this is what happened 2 years ago. Now, I'm not going to say they're only going to win one game down the stretch. That's crazy. But they're clearly not going to get to 10-1. They're 4-2. And then after they were 10-1, they only won one game down the stretch. You look at the Eagles right now. Here's their schedule the rest of the season. Vikings would say today's a loss. Then I do think they'll beat the Giants. Then they play the Packers and the Lions. I think they'll win one of those games. Then they play the Cowboys. They should beat them. Then they play the Bears and the Chargers. I think they'll beat the Bears, but they'll lose to the Chargers. Then they're going to play the Raiders. They should beat them. All right, you play the Commanders twice. They'll lose one of those. And you play Buffalo. I'll say that they lose to the Bills. So that's 6 wins that I gave them. Plus the 4 they average out, so that'd be 10, what Ray said. Now, if I'm wrong on one, maybe it goes 9, maybe it goes 11. That's a possibility. I think the Eagles will be in the playoffs. I think the Eagles are going to win the NFC East. Don't get me wrong. But am I going to sit there and pick Philadelphia to win it all this year? No, I'm not. Because if there's this many problems this early in the season, and you have guys that are so stubborn, and A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, what makes me believe that they're going to be able to rectify these issues? And maybe the way they do it is that they're just that talented, this team. And you can find a way to mask issues when you're that talented, but they did that last year. So you're going to be able to do that when we have, like you see, 25-year stretch. The Patriots repeated in Super Bowl 38, Super Bowl 39. Then the Chiefs repeated. It's so tough to be a repeat champion. And I don't think the Eagles have the mental toughness to do it because there's locker room and chemistry issues. Zach Gelb here with you, Sunday Morning Football. We'll take a break. We'll come up back. We'll try to win you some money. Ryan Horvat from BetMGM tonight joins us next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Everybody's got a price. Everybody's gonna pay. 'Cause the $1 Million Man always gets his way.
You're listening to Sunday Morning Football with Zach Gelb.
That's right. It is Sunday Morning Football. I'm Zach Gelb right here on the Infinity Sports Network. I was looking at some of my bets last night, and I had a open ticket on Alabama that I placed week 1 of the college football season. I was at my buddy Sean Marash's house, And we were eating the Bayou Bears ribs. We had wings, Chick-fil-A. Nico was even there. I did that fried mozzarella, which was delicious, in addition to that. And then the sausage and peppers, the chicken cutlets. Oh, it was a fat day for you, boy, if I'm just being honest. A lot of drinks, a lot of good times, good vibes, watching college football. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take Alabama plus 900 to win it all. And then Alabama lost to Florida State. But since then, the Tide, they have been rolling. So I still got that ticket at Alabama plus 900. A man that has many tickets, probably speeding tickets and then also betting tickets, is Ryan Horvat. He does a great job, BetMGM tonight. And he is here with us at his weekly spot to try to win you some money. Mr. Horvat, I know you're probably in a good mood because you're Notre Dame Fighting Irish. They won, and they're probably going to go back to the college football playoff. But how are you?
Doing great because of what you just said. I really, man, that was a lot of fun last night. And I completely agree with everything that you said and bet about Alabama, man, because I also think that they're right now the best team in college football. I thought Miami was up there, but I just don't trust Mario Cristobal. I know a lot of people were ready to throw Kalen DeBoer out after just 1 year, but I really like the Ryan Grubb hire. I mean, they're throwing screen passes out there to Proctor. He's one of my favorite tackles in college football history, I think. And Ty Simpson, man, as long as you keep him clean, he's one of the better quarterbacks in college football. He doesn't turn the ball over. I really like Alabama a lot, man. I think they're the best team in the country. So I know you're you missed out on the number, but I would bet them right now. If I were to make any bet in the college football playoff, it would be Bama.
Yeah, and I think Ohio State right now is the best team in the country. That's just me. But I would really like to see this year the SEC, if that is Alabama, is it A&M, whoever, go up the best that they have to offer from the Big Ten. And that looks like it's Ohio State, but it could be Indiana. And we'll get more clarity on that later on in the season. All righty, let's get to NFL Sunday today. We know what happened earlier in the week with the Bengals and the offensive performance by Joe Flacco and company. The Steelers' defense just being horrendous. Right now, the Rams are up 21-0 as the third quarter just got underway in London up against the Jaguars. But before we brought you on, let's talk about the Eagles and the Vikings today. Eagles are a 2.5-point favorite. Over-under's 43.5. You have no clue what to expect from Philadelphia anymore, but then Carson Wentz is the quarterback for the Vikings. What side do you take in this one between Eagles and Vikings if you had to make a play?
Yeah, I bet this game. I bet Minnesota, actually. Really tough place to play in Minnesota. As a Green Bay fan, man, I hate the horn and I hate the skull chant, but it's got to be pretty cool if you're a fan. It's a loud place to play. And right now, I just don't trust Philadelphia. I mean, you had this supposed players-only meeting between A.J. Brown and Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts, and then A.J. Brown is like, nah, I didn't know about that. So it's always something with him. I do think that he'll be fine and the offense will eventually be fine. But right now, I'm going to continue to fade them. One prop that I like, though, this has to be the week for Saquon Barkley. You can't really throw the ball against Minnesota with that pass rush and with their pass defense, which is top 15. But you can run the ball against them. Right now, they're outside the top 25 in EPA per rush. So if it's not this week for Saquon, who's averaging like 3.5 yards per carry, I don't know if it's happening this year. So I bet him to score a touchdown. I also like Jalen Hurts to score an anytime touchdown. But, yeah, I like Minnesota to find a way to win this game with Carson Wentz behind center.
All right, let's get to some other games around the NFL. Patriots and Titans. I love the Pats today, -6.5. Is that a sucker bet? And does Tennessee maybe get a little bit of a boost moving off of Coach Callahan, and maybe they find a way to rally around that?
I mean, a lot of these guys bet Tennessee every single week, and I don't understand it. This goes back to last year. The number did go from 7 to 6.5. Anything under a touchdown, man, I'm with you. I like New England. I mean, I think Vrabel is going to look to lay it on. Drake May right now, I really like the play calling. So they've upped the play action usage. Right now, I think they're using play action at the 7th highest rate. And Drake May looks like a future MVP candidate. The defense is only going to continue to get better. I really like what I've seen from Will Campbell. And I'm glad, man. I thought that the arm length, the arm size stuff coming out of the combine was so dumb. Hell of a player at LSU. I think he's going to be a really good pro. I like New England under a touchdown. It's 7.5. I get it. But I got to stop betting these bad teams, man. And I think New England is a playoff team this year. I think they win a minimum of 10 games. So give me the Patriots.
Saints and Bears. The Bears are home. They're only a 3.5-point favorite. That is Vegas begging you to lay the points with Chicago. Are the Saints going to cover this spread? Are the Saints going to win the game outright?
You know, I can make the case for the Saints here just because Spencer Rattler's been pretty good. The Saints haven't completely quit on the season like some other teams already have, the Miami Dolphins. But and Spencer Rattler's been pretty good. But I actually like Chicago, man. I feel like this is going to be a pros versus Joes, and I'd rather be with the Joes because I like Chicago this year. I bet their win total over when it dipped to 7.5 after that first loss. I think they're an 8-win team. I like the Ben Johnson hire. I think the offense has been solid. The issue's been the defense, but if you go back and you watch the last couple of weeks, they're finally getting healthier, especially on the defensive line. So I do think the run defense, they don't have much room to go below. So I think that they go up from here. I like the Bears, actually, man. I think they win this game by a touchdown. I think Chicago's for real. And you have that little, like, Caleb Williams, Spencer Rattler rivalry from the Oklahoma days. So I like Chicago.
Dolphins and Browns, the total in this game is 34.5. Would you bet the over?
I would not bet the over, and I love the Browns. This is my favorite bet this weekend, and I know it sounds crazy because it's the Browns, but I think this might be the week, man, for Mike McDaniel. And I think he could be a solid – I don't know if he's a head coach, but
Put
I think
him
he could
out
be
the
a really –
pasture. I've had enough of this. I've had enough of this guy for 2 years.
Yeah.
You cannot have a head coach with the way that he speaks at the podium and expect that he's going to have any control over his locker room. And what a mess that Tua situation is. The funny part is I actually don't think Tua – was saying the wrong thing in terms of we got to show up on time for player-only meetings. But when you throw, 4 interceptions, I don't think, or 3 interceptions, it's kind of like the Carson Beck thing. It doesn't really matter what you say. It's just not a good look for the quarterback.
Exactly. And some people, I think, might –
He had to apologize, Ryan, for that. Apologize. You just emasculated your quarterback in front of all of us.
Well, and so that's the thing. I know some people are like, oh, we could buy low on Miami against Cleveland. I love Cleveland in this spot because you have that offensive line. It kind of reminds me of like Willie Beeman in Any Given Sunday. I wonder if they'll just give up on him. Even if they don't, they're going against the Browns defense, which that pass rush, top 5 right now, one of the best in the league with Myles Garrett. And then you have Miami, who right now, their run defense is brutal. Bottom 3 in EPA allowed per rush, rushing success rate allowed, and yards allowed per carry. Quinshon Judkins is going to eat today, so I like him to score an anytime touchdown. I like the Browns to win their second game of the season. First game, it's bad. It's so bad for Miami. Dylan Gabriel is laying points. I think that Cleveland wins this game by at least 6 points. I love the Browns today.
Saquon Barkley, Quinshon Judkins, anytime touchdown parlay? Is that what you're saying?
So Quinshon Judkins, let's go Saquon Barkley, or you could go Jalen Hurts, right? Just because Jalen Hurts has more carries from inside the 1-yard line than anybody in the NFL. He's 5th in the NFL in rushing touchdowns since the start of last season. But I'm going Saquon, and you're getting a better price. I'm going to go Saquon. I'm going to go Quinshon Judkins. And then the last one, I'm going to go back to Drake London tonight against San Francisco. I really like this matchup against the Niners secondary. They're so beat up, and he's getting the targets. He has a 30% plus target share from Michael Penix. So I'm going to go Drake London, Saquon Barkley, Quinshon Judkins today. Oh, and Josh Jacobs. You got to go Josh Jacobs as well.
Who do you like in that game, Falcons and 49ers? The 49ers are just decimated with injuries. Falcons coming off that huge win, a game that I was at on Monday Night Football up against the Buffalo Bills. San Francisco, they are a 1.5-point favorite.
We were talking about this on Friday night. So Atlanta right now has a legit pass rush, man. So I like the under on Mac Jones passing yards for sure. But I hate betting against San Francisco, and I hate betting against the Rams. I hate betting against Shanny and McVay when they have these beat-up, depleted rosters because I think they're some of the best motivators, and they always come back to haunt you, man. How about the Thursday night game when everybody took the Rams in Survivor? They're 7.5, 8.5-point favorites, and Mac Jones throws for like 300 yards against them, and San Francisco knocks everybody out. I can see the Niners winning this game, man. As long as CMC's on that field, I think that they'll be fine. But I bet Atlanta. I think the smart pick might be San Fran is what I'm telling you. I'm going with Atlanta because I'm way too high on this team. Really good defense. And here's what I wonder. How do you stop Bijan Robinson tonight? Or Drake London, but especially Bijan. So Nick Bosa, since he got hurt, the Niners are outside the top 28 in pass rush. They're getting no pass rush. So tonight Penix should have some clean pockets, so he should play better. And then Fred Warner's now out, and he's the best not only run-stopping inside linebacker, he's top 5 there, but he's also the best cover linebacker still. So I think in the middle of the field you're going to be able to take advantage. Maybe it's even a Kyle Pitts game, but I love Bijan props, and I bet Atlanta, but I can see myself being on the wrong side because Shanny always comes back to haunt when he's got these beat-up teams.
Ryan Horvath for BetMGM tonight here with us. Zach Gelb here with you. Sunday morning football. Raiders and Chiefs. Is 12.5 points too many for Kansas City?
So I think it is, but I could also see the Chiefs beating them by like 35 points, beating them into submission because I do think Kansas City's back. I think a smart bet right now is just to take the Chiefs to win the AFC, not so much the Super Bowl, the AFC, because then you could just hedge in the AFC Championship game. Maybe Buffalo gets right. Maybe the Ravens do. I don't know. I don't know who could compete with the Chiefs if they figure out their run defense. And I expect Chris Jones to play much better as the season progresses. And now you get Rashee Rice back, man. So now everybody gets to go back to their natural roles. Like Hollywood Brown is not a number 1 or a number 2, but he could be a solid vertical slot guy. Kelsey has been pretty good, and now you don't have to rely on him as much. And Xavier Worthy gets to be the gadget guy. I still really like him, but he's not going to be getting 15 targets per game. So I think Kansas City's the team to beat in the AFC. But 12.5 is a big number, and the matchup that scares me today, if you're a Chiefs fan, Juwan Taylor, their tackle, hasn't given up a sack this year, but he's given up 8 pressures, and he's been penalized more than any other tackle. He's going against Max Crosby, who's nearly top 10 in pressure rate, and I think that's only going to go up. So I think that Mahomes might be under some pressure today. So give me the Raiders to cover, as gross as it is.
Panthers and Jets. Carolina, 1.5-point favorite, over under 41.5. Give me an ugly bet on this game.
So I know everybody likes Carolina in this game. I like the Jets. I need Carolina to prove to me that they could win a road game. I know that the Jets need to prove that they can win a game for Aaron Glenn, and I'm not an Aaron Glenn guy. But I think the Jets win their first game with Justin Fields as their quarterback today because Carolina only has 5 sacks this season. The defense has been better, which they couldn't be much worse. Last year they finished 32 in every category. But they only have 5 sacks, man. So if Fields has some clean pockets, I think he plays better. I kind of like Breece Hall receptions today with no Garrett Wilson. The Jets defense, the pass defense right now is a mess. But I don't know that Bryce is going to be able to make enough throws. And their run defense has been pretty good. That's why Carolina's winning these games. They're averaging over 200 rushing yards the last couple of weeks with Rico Dowdle. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that against the Jets run D. So as gross as it is, I'm going to hold my nose and I'm going to bet the Jets. I bought a Jets lamp when Rodgers went there because I'm a huge fan. I haven't used it in 2 years. I turned it on today. It's like the bat signal, man. So when I bet the Jets, we got to turn the light on. It's the first time this year we're doing it.
So one New York team you're predicting to get a victory today. How about the other? You have the Giants and the Broncos. Denver's a 7.5-point favorite.
I kind of like Denver here. A lot of people making the case for the Giants again because it's Scatterboo and he's exciting right now, and Jackson Dart has brought some new life to that Giants offense. But I just think this is a bad spot. The Broncos' run defense is actually underwhelmed a little bit. Right now, they're just outside the top 10. They're number 11, but I think they're going to be better, man. And the pass defense is solid. Like, Denver's going to have one of the better defenses in the league. And this is a big ask. Rookie quarterback, rookie running back, no Malik Neighbors. Giants defense still trying to figure things out. I think Sean Payton is going to have his way today with that defense. I like Bo Nix over 21.5 completions. And I really like Cortland Sutton props. I think Denver covers here. I think they win this game by 10.
Colts and Chargers. I think this could be a heck of a game. I think there's going to be a lot of points in this one. A lot of fun offensive pieces between these two teams. The Chargers' backfield is banged up. Chargers are 2.5-point favorite playing at SoFi Stadium today against the Colts.
Other than the Browns and the Jets, gross, this is my favorite bet today. I like the Chargers, actually, and I'm a big fan of this Colts team. I'm a believer in Danny Dimes running this Steichen offense. I bet Jonathan Taylor to win the Offensive Player of the Year when it was 22-1. Now it's time, I think, to sell some of that stock. Like, nobody wants to bet the Chargers today because of what you said. They're beat up in the backfield, but it's Harbaugh. I think Herbert's going to have a solid day today. I think the Chargers win this game by a field goal. I would love to say it's not going to be a sweat and they win this game by 7 to 10 points, but I don't remember the last time the Chargers have ever done that when I bet them, going back like 15 years. But I like them today. And I still like them in the AFC. The two buy low teams I like, Chargers and then the Texans. As bad as it's been, like to start the year for the Texans, they're still plus 40-something point differential. Stroud's playing better. And, man, they got two really good edge rushers, obviously, in Anderson and Hunter.
So you take a look at the Cowboys and the Commanders. We've been doing this game for Compass Media Network today, pre-half and post. The Commanders are banged up. Debo, Terry McLaurin. The Cowboys are getting CeeDee Lamb back. Cowboys are home. They're a 1.5-point favorite. Wouldn't it be so NFL with all these injuries that the Commanders still find a way to win the game?
I wouldn't be shocked at all. I mean, it's still Jaden Daniels is healthy today, even with all these beat-up weapons and a beat-up defense. But that said, I bet Dallas, man. You know, if you look at Dak Prescott's numbers and if you watch him play every single week, if he was on a winning team, which he's not, and he's not going to be most likely, he might be in the MVP conversation. George Pickens is balling out. The people in Pittsburgh have to be like, what the hell is this? He's not complaining. He looks like a number 1 wide receiver. And now you get CeeDee Lamb back. I really like the Jake Ferguson props today as well. I think he's going to eat in the middle of the field. I like Dallas, man. I sold Washington in the beginning of the year. I bet them not to make the playoffs, even though I live here. It's just like everybody was in love with them. And I really like Jaden. I thought some of the people Like some of the takes were a little crazy. Bears got it wrong. Jaden's the better quarterback. He might be, but I think we got to see 3-4 more years. And I always worry about that sophomore slump. I'm not saying they figured out Jaden Daniels, but I worry when he has to get to that second read. He had a rare red zone turnover last week. They had the fumble. I like the Cowboys. I'm probably going to bet the over. This most likely is a shootout, but give me Dallas here, actually.
And then finally, your Packers up against the Cardinals. 6.5-point favorites are the Packers, over under 44.5.
This one worries me a little bit. Anytime Green Bay is a big favorite, I always think the back door is going to be wide open. And right now, man, I don't know about the offense. Jordan Love, some weeks he looks great. He looks like Aaron Rodgers mixed with Brett Favre. Some weeks he looks kind of lost out there. And a lot of people are down on Matt LaFleur. Like our good buddy Bart Winkler is calling for Matt LaFleur to be fired. I think that's insane. He wins 13, 12 games every single year. He's made the playoffs every year but one. You can't fire the guy. But I don't know that he fully trusts Jordan Love. That said, this Arizona team is so beat up that I couldn't bet them either. Instead, what I'm going to do, Josh Jacobs, longest rush, over 14.5. I think he has at least a 15-yard carry, and I think he scores a touchdown in this game. I don't know if Green Bay covers. I think they win. But I love Josh Jacobs' props. Right now, Arizona's run defense is just as bad as it was last year since we haven't seen Walter Nolan yet. And they're giving up the most explosive runs. I think Jacobs takes 20, 25 yards today.
He is Ryan Horvat from BetMGM tonight. Ryan, thanks so much. We'll do it again next week.
Zach, go Patriots. Good luck today. Thanks, man.
You got it. Appreciate it. All right, there he is, Ryan Horvat. Let's get to some news here. Adam Schefter just had this tweet out, and it could help the Philadelphia Eagles. Maybe more in the locker room than actually on the field, even though it does help on the field. Was Darius Smith retiring? Former Eagles defensive end Brandon Graham is now strongly considering coming out of retirement to sign with Philadelphia, league sources told ESPN. Graham played 15 seasons in Philadelphia and just became the longest tenure Eagle in franchise history. The two-time Super Bowl champion now could be close to building upon those marks if he and the Eagles can finalize a contract this week, according to sources. Now, I just texted Brandon Graham, and I asked him if it was accurate. So I'll let you know if he responds. I will tell you this. On Monday, I was in Atlanta, and I had to kill some time before the show started, and I know Brandon pretty well. And I saw this Darius Smith news, and I texted him right away. He got back to me, and he's like, I can't believe this guy just retired. And then I said to him, does this mean Brandon Graham's going to be coming back? And he didn't dismiss it. He did not dismiss it. Now, he didn't say he was coming back, but you could tell his brain was kind of turning on the thought about coming back. So I am not surprised by this in the slightest. So we'll see if BG will confirm this by us before we get off the air 20 minutes from now. Update time. Here is Tony Pierno.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
All right, Zach, final London game of the season. It's been all Rams. They lead the Jaguars 21-0 in the third quarter. Matthew Stafford with 3 touchdown passes, 2 of them caught by Devontae Adams. Last night in Fayetteville, Texas A&M was looking to remain perfect against Arkansas.
On the play fake. Late pressure coming into the end zone. Caught and touchdown by Concepcion.
That was one of 3 touchdown passes for Marcel Reed. He also ran for another score as the Aggies defeated the Razorbacks 45-42. Audio courtesy of ESPN. Mike Elko liked what he saw from his quarterback.
Offensively, obviously, we played a really, really good football game. I thought that was Marcel's best game of the year. Did a lot of things with his arm, with his legs, extended drives, did a really good job in the passing game, spread the ball around.
The Aggies are now 7-0 to start the season for the first time since 1994. Alabama stayed hot as they beat Tennessee 37-20. Kalen DeBoer's team has won 6 straight.
I thought we did a really nice job over the course of the game, really keeping them under wraps and, again, doing what we did in the red zone time and time again, and just putting their cleats in the dirt and making them snap the ball one more time. We talk about it all the time. Make them snap the ball one more time.
Alabama's defense held the Volunteers to 410 yards of total offense. They entered the game averaging 529 per game. Elsewhere, Notre Dame knocked off USC 34-24. Top-ranked Ohio State blanked Wisconsin 34-zip. Number 3 Indiana handled Michigan State 38-13. Georgia rallied to beat Ole Miss 43-35. Gunnar Stockton passed for 289 yards and 4 touchdowns. Arizona State shocked Texas Tech 26-22, while Oregon clobbered Rutgers 56-10. Vanderbilt topped LSU 31-24. Georgia Tech down Duke 27-18. Missouri outlasted Auburn in double OT 23-17. NBA, Kevin Durant and the Rockets have agreed to a 2-year contract extension. Tonight in Toronto, it's Game 6 of the ALCS between the Mariners and Blue Jays. Seattle 1 win away from its first ever World Series appearance. First pitch is at 8:03 Eastern. I'm Tony Pierno.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on X. Our handle is INF Sports Network. That's INF Sports Network on X.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
From the biggest plays the day before in college football to getting you ready for all the mayhem that comes your way every NFL Sunday. You're listening to Sunday Morning Football with Zach Gelb.
Rams still up 21-0 up against the Jaguars. The Jaguars are going to get the ball back as we are 5:03 left in the third quarter over in London. So Rams up 21-0, blanking the Jags. Let me give you one thought as we do in the final segment of each and every game that you're going to see today. Saints and Bears, I'm fascinated by the quarterback matchup in this one. Spencer Rattler was benched at Oklahoma for Caleb Williams. Now you see Spencer Rattler with the Saints up against the Bears quarterback in Caleb Williams. Bears coming off a victory last week, to start this week on Monday, up against the Washington Commanders to conclude what was week 6 of the NFL season. That's a Bears team. They started off the year 0-2. Now they've won 3 straight games. I think this game's going to be a lot closer than what people think. And I kind of actually like the Saints to get their second victory of the season today. I think you're going to have some Spencer Rattler revenge, and they'll galvanize around him with all that did transpire many years ago with Spencer Rattler and Caleb Williams. Dolphins and Browns. Oy. Now, this is going to be a rough one to watch. That Browns defense going up against Tua Tagovailoa, I fear for Tua. But the thing to me to watch is how much longer is Mike McDaniel going to keep his job? He's 1-5. It's one thing to be bad, and then it's another thing to be embarrassing. And the Dolphins just continue to find ways to be embarrassing, and it starts with their head football coach and also their general manager, Chris Greer. Patriots at Titans, it's all about the return of Mike Vrabel. He does not like that owner. I kind of want to see Vrabel try to run up the score in this one. Here's the thing with the Patriots. They had a great victory up against the Bills. Close game up against the Saints. Drake May's playing really good football. You play Tennessee and Cleveland the next 2 weeks. You should win both those games. But when you have a young team, it wouldn't surprise me if they drop one of them. Even with the interim coach now taking over after the Callahan firing, I just don't think this is going to be the one. I think the Patriots are going to win. I think the Patriots are going to cover the 6.5-point spread. Raiders and Chiefs. Chiefs looking damn good. You had a chance to go get the Chiefs. Now the Chiefs are sitting there at 3-3. They had a great victory last week up against the Detroit Lions. I think the Chiefs are getting another one today up against the Raiders. Chiefs are looking good. Chiefs are looking back. And you look across this AFC. Who are you picking outside of Kansas City to get back to the Super Bowl? Bills last 2 weeks haven't looked good. You really think Daniel Jones making it to the Super Bowl this year? Jaguars look like they're going to be 4-3 after this one. Texans going to find a way to bounce back and get things going. Broncos Super Bowl? Chargers Super Bowl? So I still look at the AFC. As long as 15 is healthy, I'm not betting against Kansas City. Eagles and Vikings, it's a quarterback matchup to me. It's a leadership issue here. When you look at Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts, we're going to see who's going to be the better quarterback and who's going to be the better leader today. Panthers and Jets, it's been a disaster to be Aaron Glenn. Like, I just said it's one thing to be bad, it's another thing to be embarrassing. This guy, Aaron Glenn, every time he opens his mouth, he puts his foot right in it. And when you're the coach of the New York Jets, when you're a coach in New York, it's not that you're just a coach on the field. Right? You got to be the coach at the podium. And the podium has eaten some good coaches alive. And Aaron Glenn was a fine defensive coordinator, but he's been a crap head coach. And I don't usually advocate for one and dones, but this is getting really, really bad for the Jets. Like, they have enough talent on this team to at least have a win by this point in the season. And they don't because they're 0-6. And for the Panthers thing to watch here, you got Rico Dowdle and you got Chuba Hubbard. Hubbard's back from the injury, so we'll see how they'll split up those carries. Giants and Broncos. The Broncos could be the best defense in football. I'm curious to see, after what was a great emotional win on Thursday Night Football last week for the Giants up against the Eagles, and Cam Scatterboot was awesome. Jackson Dart was just so efficient, and he was ridiculous, just stupid good on third down. I'm not thinking that the Giants win this game today, but how close can they keep it? And Jackson Dart right now just has that it factor early on. If he goes and wins this game up against this defense, look out now. You thought the buzz was big last week. Wait until the buzz would be with this upcoming week. Colts and Chargers. I think this is going to be the best game. For the Sunday slate, this would be my pick. This would be the game that I look at in circle and say, I think this would be the best game. I think you're going to see a ton of points today. Daniel Jones, Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman Jr., Tyler Warren, Justin Herbert. You could put whoever in that backfield. They're going to run for the Chargers. I think you're going to see a lot of points in this one today. And you have two quarterbacks that they're risk takers. They are. But who's going to protect the ball better? Commanders and Cowboys. This is a big one for the Cowboys. You get George Pickens, who's been a stud the last 3 weeks. You get CeeDee Lamb back. And the Commanders going to be without Terry McLaurin. And they're going to be without Deebo Samuel. And the quarterback matchup in this one is sensational with Jaden Daniels and Dak Prescott. Jaden Daniels is going to have to be MVP today to go beat the Cowboys. And I think he can be. Packers and Cardinals. I want to just see how clean of a game this is. I think the Packers are going to win. And the Cardinals are all banged up. But you look at this Packers team. They start off the year 2-0. Then they lost to the Browns, and the Browns scored 13 unanswered points in the fourth quarter. Then they tied the Cowboys, and then they beat the Bengals, but it wasn't anything all that impressive. I want to see a clean performance today from the Green Bay Packers. And then Falcons and 49ers. Let's be real, folks. Watching this game, this could be Bijan Robinson, this could be Christian McCaffrey. I'm going to parlay both of them to score a same game parlay, both of them to score touchdowns. You know, most of the times we preview the quarterback match. It's going to be Mac Jones for the 49ers. It's going to be Michael Penix Jr. for the Falcons. This is the one you start when you talk about the marquee players, and it's running backs. McCaffrey and Bijan Robinson. And what an 80-yard touchdown run that was for Bijan Robinson up against the Buffalo Bills on Monday Night Football. All righty, that will do it for Sunday Morning Football. Big thanks to Ray. Big thanks to Nico for getting everything together today. Big thanks to each and every one of you for tuning into the program, however you do may consume us on the radio, via one of our great Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM Channel 375, the free Odyssey app, the iHeartRadio app, or streaming live on YouTube. I'll be on Compass Media Networks today doing pre-app and post for Commanders and Cowboys, so make sure you check that out. If you do not, I will then talk to you tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific time for the Zach Gelb Show on many of these same stations. Big thanks to each and every one of you for listening. You can always get at me, Twitter and Instagram at Zach Gelb, ZACHGELB. Make sure you follow us, please. You can also get at me on the TikTok at the Zach Gelb Show. All righty, talk to you Monday. Talk to you later today. If you tune into Compass Media Networks for Cowboys and Commanders, I'm Zach Gelb. I'm out. Bye-bye. Peace.